Beloved, I want to tell you today that a miracle from God is about to happen in your life. You may not see it yet, you may not feel it, but that doesn't mean it isn't on its way. Because when God moves, he moves in ways beyond human understanding. A divine breakthrough is closer than you think, and all he asks of you is to believe, to prepare, and to stay the course with unwavering faith. God's timing is not our timing, but his timing is perfect. Divine timing is a principle deeply woven into the fabric of creation. Everything under heaven happens at an appointed time, even when it seems delayed or inexplicably slow to us. Many of us have prayed earnestly, expecting answers in our own timing, and often grow frustrated or disheartened when things don't go as planned. But divine timing isn't about human clocks, deadlines, or schedules. It exists beyond our linear understanding of time, orchestrated by a God who sees the end from the beginning and knows what is best for each of us. When God sets a time, it is perfect. It may not align with our desires or deadlines, but his timing is flawless because he works with an eternal perspective. Consider this: God does not withhold blessings out of reluctance or delay his intervention out of cruelty. He is not bound by our calendars or urgent requests. Instead, divine timing is rooted in God's immense love and wisdom. He desires for us not only to receive what we need, but to be ready to handle it. Often we are in a hurry seeking answers before we're prepared, but God knows that premature blessings can turn into burdens. His timing ensures that when the miracle arrives, we are ready in spirit, mind, and character to receive it fully. Our growth and readiness are as much a part of his plan as the miracle itself. Divine timing is a perfect example of God's foresight and loving patience. Imagine if we received everything we ever asked for exactly when we wanted it. Would we truly be able to steward it well, to understand its value, or to honor the source from which it came? God knows what we do not, and his timing prevents us from mishandling the blessings he has for us. Just as a gardener understands the seasons, planting and harvesting according to nature's cycles, God aligns our lives with seasons of preparation, growth, and eventually fulfillment. He does not overlook a single detail, and his timing is synchronized with his knowledge of our needs and capacity. When we look back on our lives, we often realize that many of the things we longed for, yet did not receive immediately, eventually came at a better time. Perhaps it was that job, that relationship, that breakthrough, each of which arrived when we were more mature, more capable, or simply better positioned to appreciate it. In the moment, we may have been disappointed or frustrated, but hindsight reveals the wisdom in his delay. The waiting period was not wasted. It was God's way of aligning our hearts, refining our spirits, and ensuring that when the blessing came, it could thrive in our lives rather than be squandered. Moreover, divine timing stretches and strengthens our faith. In the waiting, we learn patience, trust, and dependence on God's provision. When we surrender our timelines and allow ourselves to rest in his promise, our relationship with God deepens. Faith isn't just about receiving, it's about trusting in the unseen and in the one who holds our future. Through faith, we come to understand that our present circumstances, even the difficult or uncertain ones, are part of a larger plan. Trusting in divine timing teaches us humility and obedience. It reminds us that we are not the authors of our destiny, but are in partnership with the Creator, whose timing reflects his deep care for us. In divine timing, even our hardships serve a purpose. The challenges, setbacks, and delays are tools God uses to shape us, strengthen our character, and refine our spirits. Each trial prepares us, each closed door redirects us, and every moment of waiting becomes a stepping stone toward the ultimate purpose God has for us. By surrendering to divine timing, we find peace in knowing that we are exactly where we are supposed to be, and when the miracle comes, it will arrive at the perfect moment, bringing with it everything God has designed for us. Faith is the foundation of all miracles. Faith is the bedrock of our relationship with God and the gateway to experiencing the miraculous. It is through faith that we move beyond mere hope or wishful thinking into a powerful, confident expectation of God's promises. Faith is not based on what we see or feel in the natural. Rather, it is rooted in the certainty of God's character and his word. To walk in faith is to live with a deep-seated belief that God's promises are not only true, but are meant specifically for us. This kind of faith doesn't waver with circumstances or bend under pressure. Instead, it grows stronger as we choose to trust God, regardless of what our senses or situations might suggest. To truly embrace faith as the foundation for miracles, we must first understand that faith is more than mental agreement. It's an active, living force. Faith moves us to action. It influences our thoughts, our words, and our decisions. Genuine faith requires that we align our lives with God's promises. It's the kind of faith that led Abraham to leave his homeland without knowing his destination, simply because God had spoken. It's the faith that allowed Moses to lift his staff over the Red Sea, trusting that God would provide a way where there was no way. In every miraculous event throughout the scriptures, faith was the ingredient that allowed the miraculous to take root and unfold. Without faith, even the mightiest works of God are held at a distance. Faith brings heaven closer, creating the atmosphere where God's hand can move freely. This kind of faith isn't passive, it's an active choice, especially when we encounter delays or hardships. Faith requires that we hold on, even when nothing around us seems to support what we believe. In fact, faith shines brightest in moments of uncertainty. When everything seems stacked against us, when the situation appears hopeless, that's when faith can transform our reality. It invites God into our circumstances because faith at its core is trust in God's faithfulness. It says, God, even if I can't see the way forward, I believe that you have already made one such faith positions us to experience God's power, for he honors those who believe in his word even before the evidence appears. Faith also serves as an anchor, keeping us grounded amid life's storms. When we are grounded in faith, the winds of doubt, fear, and negativity cannot uproot us. We are steady, unwavering, and confident because we know God is not limited by our circumstances. It is by faith that we see the unseen, that we declare healing before the sickness is gone, and that we thank God for provision even when our resources are low. Faith is how we rise above the limitations of the physical world and tap into the boundless possibilities that exist within God's kingdom. Our faith is a declaration to God that we believe his word over our feelings, over our fears, and over what we may see in the natural. And God responds to this kind of faith. When we believe without reservation, we create an opening for the supernatural to touch the natural, for the impossible to become possible. Faith attracts the miraculous because it says to God, I trust you, even beyond my understanding. And it is this trust that moves God's heart and releases his power. As Jesus said, even faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. It is not the size of our faith that matters, but the strength of our conviction that God is who he says he is, and that he will do what he has promised. In a world filled with doubt and uncertainty, it can be challenging to maintain this kind of unwavering belief. But when we do, we step into a life where miracles are not just occasional or extraordinary, they become the expectation. Faith makes the miraculous a reality because it places us in alignment with God's will. It opens doors that we thought were closed, brings healing where there was pain, and brings provision where there was lack. Faith is the foundation, the unseen substance upon which every miracle stands. When we stand firm in faith, we open ourselves to the fullness of what God desires to do in our lives. Now, let me remind you, miracles don't always look like we expect. Miracles often defy our expectations and come in forms that surprise us. God's ways are higher than our ways, and his thoughts are beyond our understanding. This means that what we imagine or predict for our lives is often a fraction of what God is capable of doing. Miracles are not bound by the limitations of our human logic, nor are they restricted to the methods we might think are best. God works through unexpected means, and sometimes the very blessing we are praying for arrives in a form so unconventional that we might not recognize it at first. To truly experience the miraculous, we must be willing to embrace the unexpected, allowing God to move however he sees fit. The beauty of expecting the unexpected is that it keeps us in a state of openness and humility. When we cling too tightly to our specific ideas of how God should act, we risk overlooking the blessings that don't match our preconceived notions. For example, God may answer a prayer not by removing a difficulty, but by giving us a newfound strength to overcome it. He may work through people or circumstances we hadn't even considered, using unusual avenues to provide, heal, or guide. The scriptures are filled with stories of God showing up in ways that were completely surprising to those involved. Whether it was a shepherd boy like David defeating a giant, or Jesus feeding thousands with just a few loaves and fish, God consistently demonstrates that he doesn't need conventional methods to perform the miraculous. When we remain open to God's mysterious ways, we free ourselves from the confines of limited thinking. Often we are so focused on specific outcomes that we forget God's ultimate goal is to grow and refine us. The unexpected has a purpose. It stretches our faith, challenges our perspectives, and teaches us to trust God more deeply. Sometimes the unexpected answer is the very thing that catalyzes a transformation within us. When we let go of our rigid ideas and allow God to operate in his limitless way, we begin to witness miracles beyond what we could have asked for or imagined. In our lives, we may find that a door we thought was the answer closes unexpectedly, leaving us disappointed or confused. But what if that closed door is actually God's redirection, guiding us towards something far better than we could foresee? Or perhaps we encounter an obstacle that forces us to develop patience, resilience, or compassion qualities that prepare us for the blessing ahead. When we are open to God's unexpected ways, we begin to see that even setbacks or disruptions can serve a divine purpose, often becoming the very foundation upon which our miracle is built. Expecting the unexpected also means allowing God to work in his own time. Miracles don't always happen instantly, nor do they always follow a logical sequence. Sometimes the miracle begins with a small shift, an encounter, or an opportunity that, when combined over time, leads to a profound change. God often uses a series of seemingly ordinary events to orchestrate something extraordinary. By staying open to his timing and methods, we recognize that every step, every pause, and even every detour plays a part in the miracle he is crafting for us. To expect the unexpected is to embrace the mystery of God's workings. We don't need to understand everything. We only need to trust the one who holds everything. This mindset transforms the way we approach life. We become receptive to blessings in any form, seeing God's hand in both the big and small moments. We become people who can recognize a miracle, even when it comes disguised as a trial, or who can find God's grace in places we might never have looked. Expecting the unexpected is a journey of faith that keeps us alert, grateful, and aware of God's presence in every aspect of our lives. When we embrace this attitude, we no longer limit ourselves to a narrow vision of what God can do. We begin to see possibilities where others see impossibilities, and we discover that God is continually working around us in remarkable ways. By expecting the unexpected, we open ourselves to the fullness of God's creativity and power, allowing him to surprise us with blessings that exceed our wildest dreams. And know this: before every miracle, there is always preparation. Preparation is a critical component in receiving God's blessings, and often we overlook the fact that before God bestows a miracle, he works on preparing us to handle it. Many times we pray for miracles, for breakthroughs, for things we earnestly desire, but God knows that without preparation, those blessings could become burdens. He sees our potential and understands exactly what we need to grow and develop before stepping into greater blessings. This means that the challenges, trials, and setbacks we face today are not obstacles blocking our blessings. They are the groundwork God is laying to strengthen, refine, and equip us for what he has in store. Imagine the process of refining precious metals. Before gold can shine, it must go through the fire. Likewise, we are often brought through experiences that test and stretch us, developing our faith, patience, and resilience. It is during these moments of preparation that we learn dependence on God, humility, and gratitude. We may feel as though we're waiting longer than expected, as though we're being held back, but in reality, we are being prepared. God doesn't rush the process because he wants us to not only receive the blessing, but to steward it well. He cares not just about giving us gifts, but about forming us into people who can carry those gifts with integrity and wisdom. Many times the preparation phase involves stripping away things that do not serve us, negative habits, harmful relationships, or limiting beliefs. God refines us by removing the things that would hinder us from fully embracing the miracle he intends to place in our lives. These challenging seasons are opportunities for us to develop the character traits and spiritual maturity needed to sustain the blessing when it arrives. We must learn endurance, the ability to stand firm, and the wisdom to discern God's will. Through this process, God molds us, ensuring that we don't just receive a blessing, but are transformed by it. Preparation is not easy. It requires patience and trust. Often when we face repeated challenges or delays, we can feel frustrated or disappointed, questioning why the miracle hasn't arrived yet. But remember, the length of the waiting period is not a measure of God's distance. It's a testament to the depth of the work He is doing within us. God knows the strength we'll need, the level of faith we'll need, and the wisdom we'll require to carry the blessing well. Every struggle, every setback, every lesson learned along the way is adding to our foundation so that when the blessing comes, we are prepared to handle it with grace and purpose. This preparation also allows us to appreciate the blessing more deeply. When we have been through the fire, when we have trusted God through periods of silence, and when we have remained faithful even in moments of doubt, we value the miracle in a way we couldn't have otherwise. Our experiences give us perspective, humility, and a heart of gratitude. We realize that the journey wasn't just about reaching the blessing, it was about becoming the person who could receive it with open hands and an open heart. And in this way, the preparation itself becomes a blessing. We grow in faith, in strength, and in our relationship with God, which are gifts that no season of waiting can take away. So if you're in a season of preparation, know that it is not a punishment or a delay. It is a vital part of God's plan for your life. Every difficulty is a stepping stone, every challenge a lesson, and every moment a building block for the foundation He is laying within you. God is doing a work in you that is essential for the miracle ahead. When you embrace this perspective, you can begin to view your current season with gratitude, knowing that God's preparation is the prelude to your blessing. The miracle will come, but it will come to someone who has been made ready to receive it fully. Trials are not only inevitable, they are necessary. They are the crucibles in which God shapes, refines, and strengthens us, preparing us for the blessings ahead. While it may feel difficult, staying steadfast through trials is one of the most powerful acts of faith we can practice. When challenges come, they often seem designed to break us down, to weaken our resolve, or even to make us question God's promises. But it is in these very moments of hardship that we are drawn closer to the heart of God and molded into the people He's calling us to be. Each struggle, each setback, and each test is a stepping stone that draws us nearer to the miracle waiting for us. God doesn't waste a single trial. He uses them to teach us lessons that we couldn't learn in seasons of ease. In trials, we gain endurance, and in that endurance, we find hope. We learn to rely on God instead of our own understanding. We come to see that even when our resources, plans, or strength fail us, God's power is made perfect in our weakness. As we hold fast, trusting that God is with us even in the darkest valleys, we build spiritual resilience. Our faith becomes less about what we feel and more about what we know, that God is faithful, He is present, and He is working all things for our good, even if we can't see it in the moment. Trials also purify our intentions. They strip away our superficial desires, focusing our hearts on God alone. Often it is through seasons of hardship that we gain a clearer understanding of our true purpose and calling. We let go of the things that once seemed essential but are no longer in alignment with where God is leading us. These trials refine us like gold in a fire, burning away impurity so that only what is pure remains. The longer we hold fast, the deeper this work goes, cultivating qualities such as patience, compassion, and wisdom that make us ready to steward the blessings God has in store. Staying steadfast through trials is not about ignoring pain or pretending that everything is okay. It's about choosing to trust God in the middle of it. It's about saying, God, I don't understand this, but I know you do. I don't know how I'll make it through, but I believe you'll carry me. This act of surrender is an invitation for God to step in and demonstrate His power in our lives. The Bible tells us that those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength, and waiting is often one of the hardest parts. But it is in the waiting, in the enduring, that we are made strong enough to carry the blessing He's preparing. Each struggle we endure is part of the preparation for the miracle that lies ahead. We come out of trials not only stronger, but more grateful, more aware of God's presence, and more aligned with His will. When we finally receive our miracle, it won't just be a blessing, it will be the result of all the endurance, trust, and resilience we built along the way. And we'll be able to look back on our journey and see how every difficult moment brought us closer to the promise. So if you're in a season of trial, hold fast. Don't give up and don't let go of God's promises. Remember, He is with you, and every struggle you endure is bringing you one step closer to your miracle. These trials are not detours, they are the direct path to what God has promised. And by staying steadfast, you are not just waiting for your blessing, you are being transformed to receive it fully and to carry it well. And finally, speak life over yourself. Our words carry incredible power. They can shape our reality, mold our expectations, and even influence the outcomes in our lives. When we speak with intention, declaring life and expectation over our circumstances, we align ourselves with God's promises and invite the miraculous into our lives. Words are not just sounds, they are creative forces that carry the power of life or death. And when used with faith, they can activate the promises we are believing for. Speaking life is about aligning our words with the truth of what God says, not just what we see in the natural. When we begin to declare positive expectations and speak in faith, we shift our mindset from fear to hope, from lack to abundance, and from doubt to confidence. The Bible teaches that faith comes by hearing, and this includes hearing the words we speak ourselves. As we declare God's promises over our lives, we reinforce those truths in our own hearts, building up our faith. When we say, I am blessed that God is my provider, or miracles are unfolding in my life. We're not just speaking empty words, we're making a spiritual declaration that sets the tone for our actions, attitudes, and choices. We are declaring that we expect God to work in our lives in ways that go beyond human understanding. But speaking life is more than mere positivity. It's about aligning our words with God's will and truth. When we speak in agreement with God's word, we align ourselves with His power and authority. We must be mindful, though, not to let our words be filled with doubt or negativity. Often when facing difficult situations, we may be tempted to speak words of fear, complaining, or defeat. However, these words do not build faith, they tear it down. Speaking life requires us to guard our tongues, even in challenging moments, and to continue declaring God's goodness and faithfulness. It's not denying reality, it's choosing to affirm a higher reality that with God, all things are possible. This alignment with the miraculous shapes our inner belief system. The more we speak in faith, the more our minds, hearts, and spirits begin to align with what we are believing for. Over time, this alignment fosters an expectancy that readies us for the miracle. Expectation is a key component of faith. It's the act of believing that what we hope for is already on its way. Speaking life creates an environment where miracles are not just hoped for, they're expected. When we expect the miraculous, we move forward with anticipation, trusting that God will fulfill His promises. Additionally, speaking life is a way to overcome obstacles and resistance. When we face adversity, our words can either anchor us in faith or pull us into fear. Declaring life over our circumstances becomes an act of spiritual warfare, rejecting the lies of defeat and embracing God's promises. It enables us to rise above our situations, keeping our focus on God's power instead of our limitations. The words we speak in difficult times become a testament to our faith, a declaration that we are trusting God to bring about the extraordinary. Speaking life and expectation is not about manipulating God's will. It's about aligning ourselves with it. It's recognizing that while we may not control the timing or the form of our blessings, we can posture ourselves to receive them by expecting the miraculous. As we consistently declare God's promises and speak in faith, we transform our perspective, build resilience, and ready ourselves to receive the blessings He has prepared. By speaking life, we become active participants in the miracles we are waiting for, showing God our readiness and willingness to embrace His will. In this way, our words become a powerful tool for ushering in the miraculous, setting the stage for God to move in ways that exceed our wildest dreams. As we close, let us hold fast to the truth that God is not a man that He should lie, nor the Son of Man that He should change His mind. When He speaks, He fulfills. When He promises, He provides. The The miracle you seek, the breakthrough you await, it is not out of reach. It is being prepared in the heavens, waiting for the appointed time to manifest here on earth. But remember, you must be ready to receive it, to steward it, and to let it transform your life in ways beyond your imagination. God does not bring a blessing that leaves you unchanged. He brings miracles that redefine who you are, elevate you, and draw you deeper into his purpose. So hold on to faith. Prepare with expectation. Guard your heart and speak life, for every word of faith you utter is building the pathway toward the blessing. The challenges you face today are not the end. They are merely the prerequisites to the promise. Every test, every trial, every struggle is evidence that God is moving, working, and preparing to bring his power to bear in your life. So lift up your head and know that your help is on the way. Stand strong and hold fast to the God who is not bound by time, for his timing is perfect. The miracle you seek is about to happen not because of who you are, but because of who he is. And when it comes, you will know that it was not by your might nor by your power, but by his spirit alone. Be ready, for your miracle is not a distant dream. It's a promise that's coming to pass. And when it does, all will see and declare that the hand of God is upon you. Amen.